Efforts to have Parliament enact laws for the realization of the two-thirds gender rule continue to suffer setbacks, with the National Assembly now postponing the implementation of the same to the next Parliament. The National Assembly's Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs has recommended that the proposals, as contained in the multi-sectoral working group, cannot be implemented in this Parliament. Brenda Wanga reports on the ever-shifting goalposts in the search for this.
The recommendations by the multi-sectoral working group on the attainment of the two-thirds gender principles are the latest in a string of attempts to achieve this constitutional requirement, and perhaps the most ambitious ones yet since the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. The group, formed just a year after the Kenya Kwanza government came into power, was seen as the latest push in this nearly 14-year-old journey towards gender parity.
First is that the issue of gender equality in political representation was not an arbitrary matter. Historically, women have been marginalized.
The recommendations of the group included proposals to amend the Constitution to provide for a top-up formula that would see the gender that needs a boost to meet the numbers to the constitutional threshold nominated to the National Assembly.
Our proposals are simple. We said adopt the same mechanism that is already in operation in the counties. It is there for continuity, for uniformity, and for ease of, understanding, because it's a process that has been there for the past 3
The report by the multi-sectoral working group found its way to the National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, which, while agreeing with the recommendations, failed to speed up its implementation, instead pushing the responsibility of enacting the necessary legislations to the Parliament that will succeed it. The JLAC, in a majority recommendation, turned the proposal by the multi-sectoral group as too ambitious and not possible to be implemented in the current Parliament. It also noted that it will be neater to do so during the 2027 general elections. Activists say this is yet another delaying tactic that seems to disenfranchise women who are currently struggling to achieve this constitutional stipulation.
As we feel that the two-thirds gender rule is something that we keep on playing with in this country, and we obviously see it that just before we go for elections, everyone is talking about it and all leaders are promising, and once they're elected, it just becomes one of those things that are said but there's no action. For example, in terms of the appointment of the cabinet secretary.
Other than the top-up mechanism, the multi-sectoral group also proposed that political parties be required by law to adopt the zebra method of populating party lists for nomination purposes. The delay in implementing the latest proposals just follows a seemingly well-trodden path in this journey to implement the two-thirds gender principle. Several other attempts have been made both in and out of the National Assembly in the past, attempts that culminated with the former Chief Justice David Maraga issuing an advisory on the constitutionality of the 12th Parliament. With this latest delay, activists are now looking at the judiciary once again to spur action.
People petitioned for the dissolution of Parliament, and retired Chief Justice Maraga actually advised for Parliament's dissolution. President Uhuru did not act on that order. But because Parliament is an institution that exists,
they agree that actually Parliament is not properly constituted, and there is need to bring in more women to make it compliant to the Constitution.
Gender activists will be hoping that the courts will be the catalyst for the National Assembly and the executive to seriously consider making the gender principle a reality and without further loss of time. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.